What if events went differently? What if the early Marvel heroes became the Avengers in the early 2000s? What would have happened? What would have unfolded? In today's video, you're going to be exploring my entire movie lineup of the Avengers 2000 fan fictions. I put everything together from episode 1 all the way to Kang the Conqueror himself. So I do hope you guys enjoy this, and before we finish off, I do want to say that I have been working closely with me and my friends on a huge audio drama fan fiction that will be like nothing you've ever seen before on the channel. So make sure you guys tune in for that. That will be coming out later on either this year or early next year in January. So anyways, as always guys, thanks for tuning in and enjoy the fan fiction movie.
Dr. Doom's unrestrained power will soon tear the fabric of reality beyond repair.
With evil on the rise, assemble, we are strong, forever fight as one. Assemble, we are strong, forever fight as one.
The Fantastic Four were tasked with creating a way to travel through subspace. The leader of the Fantastic Four, Reed Richards, was creating a quantum gateway that would allow him to explore the other dimensions in space. As the quantum gateway was successful, Richard used it and stumbled upon a gateway to a strange dimension. He realized that this new space was fairly empty and unpopulated. This new space was known as the Negative Zone. As the Fantastic Four were traveling into the Negative Zone, they were being ambushed by Victor Von Doom. Doom apparently had his Doombots spying on the Fantastic Four in the Baxter building and overheard their plans to create the Quantum Gateway. The Fantastic Four then clashed with Doom and his Doombots in the Negative Zone. Doom told them that the Negative Zone had an omnipotence power in the form of a human being called the Molecule Man, and he was waiting for the Fantastic Four to create the Quantum Gateway successfully. With the omnipotence power, he would be able to conquer the entire universe. The Fantastic Four battled in a close battle with Dr. Doom. Doom evaded them and managed to grab hold of the Molecule Man. The Molecule Man was imprisoned in the Negative Zone as he was deemed as a universal threat. With the Molecule Man by his side, Doom would be able to harness his powers, which includes warping reality and molecular manipulation. For some reason, the Fantastic Four saw that the Quantum Gateway was disintegrating slowly, and Richards told the rest of the Fantastic Four that the gateway was becoming unstable. They needed to escape fast before they are trapped in that dimension. Doom tried to stop them from escaping, but failed. In the last minute, the Fantastic Four managed to escape into Earth back again, and the Quantum Gateway exploded. However, moments before the gateway exploded, they saw a bright light morphing into Doom, causing him to groan in immense pain. They saw Doom's entire costume turn white before hearing Doom say that he will hunt and destroy all of them. The Quantum Gateway then vanished, and the Fantastic Four were back on Earth. Richards told the rest of the Fantastic Four that he needed to meet Nick Fury as he was afraid of what Doom was capable of with his omnipotence powers. He stated that while the Negative Zone can hold him for some time, it might only be temporary, and they need to have as much allies as possible. Creation of Avengers. Logan, aka Wolverine, was drunk on the streets of New York. He was thinking of what to do for the night when he accidentally bumped into several thugs. The thugs rounded him and wanted to give him a good beating, but being Wolverine, he started charging at them. Before he could slash one of the thugs, he saw the thugs being webbed onto the walls. He looked up and saw it was Spider-Man. He told Spider-Man to leave him alone and that he will cut him to pieces. Spider-Man told him that it was unethical to do. Wolverine was angry at Spider-Man and told him that his nemesis Dr. Octopus was nowhere near his level. They both clashed in a tight battle, and Spider-Man, who was more agile than Wolverine, gained the upper hand. Spider-Man then jumped on Wolverine and managed to outwit him. He then webbed up Wolverine. With Wolverine all tangled up, he was unable to continue his fight with Spider-Man. As Spider-Man was about to make silly jokes of Wolverine, they both saw a bright light shining on them. Wondering whether it was a threat or an ally, Spider-Man became cautious and got ready his web shooters. Wolverine told Spider-Man to cut off the webs, but Spider-Man refused, as he knew that Wolverine was still drunk and would be a loose cannon. The both were shocked to see who emerged from behind the light. It was Nick Fury, but what even shocked them is the two people who were next to him. Johnny Blaze, aka Ghost Rider, and Frank Castle, aka Punisher, were standing beside him. Nick Fury walked down from the helicarrier, approaching both Spider-Man and Wolverine. Spider-Man thought that he would be taken into custody for fighting Wolverine, but Nick Fury assured them that he wants to talk to both of them. He told Punisher to cut the webs that were holding Wolverine. Wolverine, who was still drunk and furious with what Spider-Man did, broke free and chased after Spider-Man. The Punisher tried to stop Wolverine by shooting at him, but Wolverine ignored the shots fired at him. Spider-Man was about to flee from Wolverine when the Ghost Rider took his chains and pinned down Wolverine. With the chains coiled around Wolverine, Ghost Rider slammed him down, knocking him out unconscious. Several hours later, Wolverine woke up in the helicarrier to see Spider-Man, Punisher, Ghost Rider, Nick Fury, and the Fantastic Four already gathered in the meeting room. Wolverine was still puzzled on what happened, went into the meeting room. He saw Spider-Man across the room and was about to unleash his claws when Nick Fury held him down. Fury told him that there are more important things to focus on. At the meeting room, the Fantastic Four's leader, Mr. Fantastic, briefed them on the Negative Zone and Dr. Doom's situation. He added that a year has already passed since the incident of the Quantum Gateway explosion. Mr. Fantastic said that they have been observing movement and disturbances on Earth's seismic activity. He told them that the Negative Zone is a universe parallel to Earth's. The key difference is that the Negative Zone is entirely filled with a pressurized, breathable atmosphere and is negatively charged. The center of the Negative Zone also had a vortex of unspeakable power. However, in the case of Dr. Doom, he knew of the existence of the Molecule Man. The Molecule Man possessed powerful radiation energy, allowing him to warp reality and manipulate atoms. He was sent to the Negative Zone for imprisonment as he was deemed a galactic-level threat. Dr. Doom knew that the Molecule Man was imprisoned near the center of the Negative Zone and decided to use that opportunity to grab the imprisoned Molecule Man for his own self. Spider-Man then asked Reed Richards on what could Doom do even if he does possess the Molecule Man. Richards said that the possibilities are endless. He's unsure of the capabilities of the Molecule Man, but he is certain that Doom will be much more enhanced than his previous self. Richards said that they recently have been observing heavy disturbances and activity near the Negative Zone. He fears that Doom will open back the portal somehow and return back to Earth with a much more deadlier force. He stated that Doom's hometown, Latveria, is still inactive, and no news of Doom there. Fury told the rest of the heroes in the meeting room that he is putting together a team called the Avengers. Their purpose is to defend Earth from any threats, whether it is aliens or supervillains. He added that they are still searching for more allies to join the Avengers. Spider-Man questioned on the recruitment of Ghost Rider and Punisher. A flashback revealed on how Ghost Rider and the Punisher were recruited into Nick Fury's Avengers plan. Ghost Rider was in Los Angeles and hunting down members of the Aryan Brotherhood. The Aryan Brotherhood were planning to raid a neighborhood that were against Nazism. Ghost Rider happened to be in town and overheard their plans when they were in a bar. On the night of the planned attack, the Ghost Rider ambushed the Aryan Brotherhood members and started attacking them. He used his penance stare on them, causing them to be deranged with their guilt. One of the Aryans managed to escape from Ghost Rider and wanted to flee. Before Ghost Rider could capture him, the last Aryan was shot in the head from afar. The shooter came out from the shadows. It was revealed to be the Punisher. The Punisher told the Ghost Rider that his plans of killing the Aryans in his own hands have been ruined. He has been targeting them for some time and wanted to kill the Aryans on his own. Ghost Rider told the Punisher that he too needs to be punished for his sins. Ghost Rider charged to the Punisher on his bike, and the Punisher fired several shots from his sniper at the rider. They both clashed in an intense fight, but they were finally stopped when the Fantastic Four and several agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. arrived. Nick Fury told Ghost Rider and the Punisher that both of them are guilty for killing the Aryans, and that job should have been left to the police instead. He said that while he could arrest both of them for it, he decided to offer them a deal. Become an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. and they will not face any consequences of their actions. Fury added that there is a greater threat that needs their help to fight with. After the Fantastic Four explained the situation of Dr. Doom to them, Ghost Rider and the Punisher decided to put their differences aside temporarily. Spider-Man and Wolverine then agreed to help out Nick Fury, although Wolverine was unsure of what threat they will be facing. Nick Fury then told them that if they were to face Doom, they're going to need a heavy hitter, someone who can tank their damages without sustaining much damage. Fury said that there is a brilliant scientist by the name of Bruce Banner who had gone into hiding from the military. He is currently working as a camp doctor in the Amazon rainforest. Fury added that Bruce was able to turn into a powerful green creature called the Hulk, but he lacks self-control when he is in the situation. The Hulk also feeds on his own rage to be stronger and can be easily triggered. Spider-Man said that he heard of the news of someone being exposed to gamma radiation, causing him to possess such powers, but he wasn't sure whether the Hulk will be able to be a team player. Fury told them not to worry and instructed him and Wolverine to persuade the Hulk to join their cause. The duo grumbled at the fact that they were tasked with tracking down the Hulk, but decided to go with the plans. With Spider-Man and Wolverine out to hunt down the Hulk, Nick Fury instructed Punisher to search for the man without fear, Daredevil and his partner Elektra. Fury said that there is activity on hand in New York, and this will be a good opportunity to persuade both of them to join their team. Punisher said that he had some score to settle with Daredevil, and the Hand after their last fight resulted in a stalemate. He said that Daredevil interrupted his mission when he was tracking down the Hand, who were attacking Kingpin's cargo. Daredevil disagreed with the Punisher's tactics of killing the Hand members, although they were bad guys, while Punisher felt that the only way of punishment for them is death. Punisher decided to track down Daredevil in New York, whereas Ghost Rider and Fantastic Four plotted their next step to take. Elsewhere in the Negative Zone, Doom is now enhanced with the powers from the imprisoned Molecule Man. The Negative Zone worked differently compared to Earth. On Earth, a minute is equivalent to almost 5 hours in the Negative Zone. As a year has already passed since the incident of Doom being locked in the Negative Zone, almost 3 centuries have passed in the Negative Zone. Doom, who has gained omnipotence and immortality from the Molecule Man's powers, was able to create a quantum gateway from his side and created a huge army of Doombots and servo guards. During his time in the Negative Zone, Doom traveled to the planet of Arthros, which was the home of Annihilus and Arthrosians. The Arthrosians and Annihilus are a race of insectoids who are bent on world domination. He made a pact with Annihilus to help him with creating a gateway to return back to Earth so that he could control Earth and have his revenge against the Fantastic Four. In return, Annihilus can control the entire universe. Of course, Doom knew that with his omnipotence power, once he gains back Latveria, he is able to overpower Annihilus. With the quantum gateway prepared again, Doom opens the portal and told Annihilus that once his Latverian army of Doombots and servo guards are ready, Annihilus can destroy all of the Fantastic Four and the Defenders of Earth. Back on Earth, Daredevil and Elektra were battling with the Hand at Hell's Kitchen. The Hand were planning to smuggle weaponry to defeat the Kingpin, and Matt Murdock, alongside Karma and Elektra, intercepted them. A full fight ensued between the Hand and the duo. The Hand knew that they will be intercepted, hence they prepared more men than usual to counter the duo. As Daredevil and Elektra were being overpowered, they were shocked to see one by one of the Hand going down after being headshot. Elektra was razed by a sniper bullet, and Daredevil turned around to see the Punisher sniping the Hand and Elektra from the roof. Elektra escaped into the building while Daredevil chased after the Punisher. Punisher knew that the Daredevil was coming after him, and sent up some EMP grenades to incapacitate and stun him. Daredevil sensed that something was amiss when he was near the Punisher's location. He went the other way around and ambushed Frank Castle. However, Frank knew that Daredevil was smart, and he decided to outwit him by shooting him with a taser. Frank then told Daredevil to stand down, as his goal was to inform them of the threat of doom. However, Daredevil didn't believe that the Punisher was telling the truth. The two fought in a tooth-and-nail brawl, but the Punisher managed to get the upper hand. He then chained Daredevil to the roof and told Daredevil to stop fighting him. Daredevil said that he and Elektra were taking out the Hand and that the Punisher should not butt into their problems. Punisher said that the problem was bigger than just the Hand. Punisher then told of the threat of doom and the negative zone, but Daredevil brushed it aside as a mere lie from the Punisher. Sue Storm, Invisible Woman, removed her invisibility cloak and told Daredevil about the truth of the Punisher's statement. The helicarrier also arrived, and the rest of the Fantastic Four assured him about the situation. Daredevil then gave in, but told the Punisher that he still does not approve of the Punisher's morals and fighting ways. The Punisher merely replied that the alliance will just be a temporary till the Doom threat is eliminated. Daredevil was shocked to see Elektra already in the helicarrier. Elektra told him that after she fled the fight with the Punisher, she ran into the back alley of the streets of Hell's Kitchen. There, she saw a flaming skull on a bike blocking her path. She remembered hearing tales of a man whose skull is ablaze and rides a bike, punishing sinners. They called him the Ghost Rider. Elektra went into battle mode, but Ghost Rider told her to stand down, and that he was not her enemy. Elektra knew that the Rider can easily destroy her, and decided to listen to the Rider's demands. After understanding the threat on hand, Elektra followed Ghost Rider back to the helicarrier. Nick Fury then said that now is left to Spider-Man and Wolverine to get the Hulk on their team. Somewhere in Brazil, Spider-Man and Wolverine were staking out the camp where Bruce Banner was. They saw several injured refugees who were being tended by Bruce himself. Spider-Man told Wolverine that he still could not believe the same man could be the powerful Hulk. They decided to wait for nightfall before moving in on Bruce. Night came, and Spider-Man told Wolverine that he would try first to persuade Bruce to join them. Logan was hesitant at first, as he was afraid that Spider-Man's punny jokes would only spoil the situation. Spider-Man in his costume entered Bruce's room, much to his surprise. Bruce thought that it was an enemy, and he wanted to call for help. Spider-Man then told Bruce that he was not looking for a fight, and wanted to tell Bruce about a grave situation. Spider-Man then told Bruce of Dr. Doom and the Negative Zone incident. Bruce replied that he knew about the existence of the Negative Zone, but he was unsure of the verification of its truth. He said that if he were to join Fury's team, they all need for him to turn into the big green monster, which he despised. He said that it was already a year plus since his last transformation. Now he wants to do good to help society with his knowledge. However, if he were to join Nick Fury's team of so-called Avengers, he would only be useful if he was the Hulk. And this was going against his principles of trying to suppress the Hulk. Spider-Man argued with Bruce and told Bruce that even if he wasn't the Hulk, the team can benefit from his intelligence. As they were arguing, they both heard a loud rustling sound from near the camp. Spider-Man felt his spider senses tingling and told Bruce to get down. A missile was launched to the army camp and exploded, killing several refugees. Bruce was mad and told Spider-Man that he thought that he was an ally and not a foe. Spider-Man replied that he wasn't aware of what's going on and told Bruce to calm down first. Bruce looked and saw the camp was burning and several refugees were hurt. Spider-Man pinged Wolverine to help evacuate the refugees away from the campsite. Just then, Spider-Man and Bruce saw several military trucks and helicopters approaching the campsite. He saw that the leader of the military was none other than Emil Blonsky, his arch-nemesis. Enraged, Bruce transformed into the Hulk, and much to the surprise of Spider-Man and Wolverine, Bruce said that Spider-Man lied to him, and he will smash all of them. The Hulk fought with the military, easily squashing and destroying the military tanks. Emil Blonsky knew that fighting the Hulk with mere weapons is not suffice. He then leaped from the helicopter and transformed into the Abomination, a near-skeletal humanoid monster more powerful than the Hulk himself. The Abomination was injected with the same serum sample taken from the Hulk, allowing him to replicate his strength. The Abomination and Hulk fought in an intense battle. As Bruce did not transform into the Hulk in over a year, he was trying to adapt himself to the Hulk. The Abomination was gaining the upper hand in the battle with the Hulk, and Spider-Man knew that the only way to regain the Hulk's trust was to aid him in the fight. Spider-Man started attacking Abomination by webbing and hurling the tanks to him. Although it barely scratched the Abomination, now the Abomination was distracted by Spider-Man. He charged towards Spider-Man, and being more intelligent one, Spider-Man went on a game of tag with the Abomination to give the Hulk enough time to recuperate. Spider-Man's webs were useless against the Abomination, and soon enough, the Abomination cornered Spider-Man and was about to smash him before the Hulk came charging at him. The Hulk smashed Abomination several times and managed to choke him with a chain. The Hulk was about to snap Abomination's neck despite pleas from Spider-Man not to do so. The helicarrier arrived just in time, and Nick Fury ordered his agents to fire multiple shots of heavy tranquilizer on the Hulk. Although the Hulk was still going strong, there were signs of him being weakened. Mr. Fantastic came down and told the Hulk that they could work together for a cure to Bruce's gamma radiation problems, but on the condition that the Hulk calms down and listens to them. Hulk was no longer enraged and became Bruce, but then he passed out. Nick Fury ordered his men to leave the Abomination for General Thetis Ross to handle. With the refugees being evacuated and the whole camp destroyed, Nick Fury left with his team aboard the helicarrier. Doom's invasion. A few weeks have passed since, and the Fantastic Four were working on identifying the source of the disturbances on Earth. Recently, there were more disturbances and the sky tearing apart, opening many portals for several seconds before closing off. Little did they know that all this time, it was part of Dr. Doom's plan to return back to Earth. Eventually, Doom managed to get the quantum gateway back open and opened a portal back to Earth. Doom now has charged omnipotence power from the Molecule Man, made his way back to Latveria. The Fantastic Four reported of a huge portal opening near Latveria back, and they feared that Doom might have returned after all. Latveria subjects were pleased for their ruler to return. Doom knew that with the amount of time difference and with immortality now, he will be able to exact his revenge on the Fantastic Four. Doom used his new enhanced powers to upgrade his Doombot and servo guards. He introduced himself to his subjects as the God Emperor Doom. With a white armor compared to his traditional black and green cloak, Doom told his subjects that they will be launching a full assault on New York, including the Fantastic Four. He was of course unaware that Nick Fury has already assembled a team of heroes to combat him. Doom returned back to his palace and opened his chambers. He saw the Molecule Man who was imprisoned there and told him that being stuck in the negative zone for years was a blessing in disguise. Doom then began his assault on Earth by sending his Doombots and servo guards to attack other countries. He decided to put New York as the last on his list as he felt to show dominance to them with his conquest on Earth. The world was shocked to see Doom expanding his empire with his newly proclaimed title of God Emperor Doom. He promised the countries that he invaded, if they do not resist him, they will be granted protection and ultimate support. Most countries feared Doom and decided to be his subject. However, several countries retaliated and chose to fight against Doom. Doom broadcasted his assaults on his enemies worldwide. With Nick Fury's team watching by, they saw Doom challenging all of his enemies to launch a combined assault on Latveria. Doom stood alone in the battlefield and saw as the missiles were heading towards him. Doom then lifted his fist into the air and made all the missiles stop in the air. He then directed the missiles back to the armies and smiled. The missiles headed back to the armies and exploded, wiping out all of them. Doom laughed and told that he is unstoppable. Nick Fury and his team saw the events that unfold with horror. Doom then challenged the Fantastic Four and told them that he will launch an assault on the Baxter Building. He said that he will give a week of preparation for the Fantastic Four before his arrival. Unknown to him, Nick Fury has already assembled his team of the Avengers, and they decided that instead of waiting for Doom's assault, they will bring the fight to him. However, Daredevil told Fury that while they were confiding of the attack on Doom in his castle at Latveria, they have never fought together before, and he wasn't sure if their chemistry in battle can prevail. Bruce Banner has yet to transform back into the Hulk ever since his encounter with the Abomination. He was still traumatized by the fact that he almost snapped the Abomination's neck, even though the Abomination was his nemesis. Fury told Daredevil that when the time comes for the fight, they will figure out the problems together. Fury decided for the Fantastic Four to wait at the Baxter Building in case Doom arrived earlier than anticipated. He will then lead the charge of the team to Latveria alongside the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. In the helicarrier, they arrived at Latveria, and Fury sent Ghost Rider, Punisher, Spider-Man, and Wolverine to do reconnaissance around Doom's castle. Punisher easily sniped the Doom bots from afar and managed to weaken their defenses. Daredevil, Elektra, and Hulk meanwhile waited in the helicarrier that has been cloaked with invisibility. Ghost Rider, Spider-Man, and Wolverine managed to infiltrate Doom's castle, and they were surprised to see the lack of guards in Doom's castle. Wolverine felt they were being tricked, and at the same time, Spider-Man's spider sense tingled. A bolt of lightning struck Wolverine, and he was deeply weakened. Spider-Man thought that Wolverine was pretty tanky, but the bolt of lightning seemed too much for Wolverine. Wolverine mustered his strength and went into Berserker Fury mode and charged towards Doom. Doom sent out several Doom bots and servo guards to intercept Wolverine. Wolverine hacked all of them in his way and was fueled with more rage. He wanted Doom's head, and that was his only thought. Spider-Man knew that Wolverine was being reckless and decided to aid Wolverine. He webbed the Doom bots and servo guards that were hacked and managed to swing into Doom. Doom merely lifted his finger and the bots disintegrated into dust. Spider-Man was shocked and wanted to tell Wolverine to fall back, but Wolverine was already in frenzy mode. Wolverine charged towards Doom's throne and was close to slashing Doom, but Doom crunched his fist and a red ray emerged. The red ray absorbed Wolverine and crushed him internally, causing Wolverine to ultimately reduce to atoms and seemingly perished. Spider-Man and Ghost Rider were shocked. They thought that Wolverine was immortal, and this seemed impossible. Doom laughed manically and told them that the red ray was part of his arcane crafts. With his new powers obtained from the negative zone, he can warp reality and atoms according to his desire. Ghost Rider then told Doom that he would repent for his sins and sent his bike towards Doom. Doom lifted his hand, and Ghost Rider's bike flew across the castle and to the outside. Punisher then used a distraction to fire an adamantium bullet to Doom, seemingly graze his face. Doom was caught aback and mad at the Punisher. He blasted the area where Punisher was at, and Punisher quickly made an escape from falling the area. Just then, Spider-Man and Ghost Rider received news from Fury to locate the Molecule Man. He said that the Molecule Man is the source of power for Doom's new strength. Maybe if they were able to locate and destroy the Molecule Man, Doom can be weakened. Ghost Rider and Spider-Man decided to flee from Doom. Doom merely told them that they are weak pests, which he will destroy them. He commanded his Doombots and servo guards to hunt down Spider-Man and Ghost Rider. However, Fury commanded the helicarrier to shoot missiles and rockets as a bombardment on Doom's castle. Doom, however, has strengthened his castle with both science and magic, making the bombardment useless. Realizing that their invisibility is now useless, Fury ordered Elektra and Daredevil with the remaining agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to attack and distract the Doom's army. A full-scale attack occurred on both sides, while Bruce was still cooped in his room. Before Fury left for the fight, he told Bruce that he knows Bruce is a smart man, and that he will do what is right for the team. Meanwhile, at the Baxter Building, they were watching the war between Fury's team and Doom's army. As Doom live telecasted the war to the world, Mr. Fantastic was trying to find a solution to defeat Doom. Just then, on the radar, they observed a large portal tearing apart the skies of New York. He was unsure of what was going on and sent Johnny Storm, Human Torch, to assess the situation. As Human Torch was circling the area where the portal emerged, he saw several insectoids coming out of the portal. He was shocked and immediately blazed the insectoids with his fireballs. With more insectoids emerging from the portal, Johnny reported to Reed that the number of enemies from the portal was increasing at an alarming rate and was unable to hold them back. Reed decided that the entire Fantastic Four needed to be there to stop the threat. Ben Grimm, the Thing, formed a stone wall, while Sue Storm, Invisible Woman, formed large bubbles to trap the insectoids and seemingly destroy them. Mr. Fantastic was trying to understand what was emerging from the portal, as he has never seen a threat like this before. Just then, a huge insectoid with armor emerged from the portal. He introduced himself as Annihilus, the leader of the Negative Zone. He has two objectives on Earth. The first, to conquer and enslave Earth as his new empire, and the second, to gain revenge against Dr. Doom, who seemingly tricked him to help with creating a portal to Earth from the Negative Zone before seemingly disappearing. The final battle. Back at Latveria, Spider-Man and Ghost Rider were searching for the Molecule Man. They were unsure of how he looked like and was like a wild goose chase hunt, as Doom's castle was enormous. They eventually came across a chamber that was locked with several keys. Spider-Man tried to use his intelligence to unlock the chamber. Meanwhile, at the surface of Latveria, the rest of Nick Fury's team were battling with Doom and his army. Many of the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., including Nick Fury, were killed in the fight. Daredevil and Elektra were also running out of strength to fight against Doom and his army. Doom faced both Elektra and Daredevil before deciding to give them a fair fight. He told them that he would fight both of them in close quarters combat as a fair fight. Elektra and Daredevil fought tooth and nail against Doom, but Doom was still superior in his fighting skills. Being able to deflect the kicks and punches from both, Doom told them that playtime is over. He grabbed Elektra's arm and twisted it, breaking it. He then grabbed her by the neck before snapping it. Elektra was motionless, and Doom tossed her body into the pile of corpses of the other S.H.I.E.L.D. members. Daredevil was horrified by it and screamed. He charged towards Doom and tried to defeat him, but his efforts were in vain. Doom managed to defeat Daredevil before lifting him in the air and breaking his back. Daredevil was paralyzed and he was unable to fight anymore. Doom laughed and proclaimed that these heroes were no match for him. Just then he felt something was shot in his back. He felt his back had been shot with an EMP grenade. The EMP grenade and the Punisher emerged from the flames. He shot Doom in the face with his assault rifle before using his battle knife to cut through Doom. Doom, who was shocked, took several damage but was still unfazed. Doom wanted to grab Punisher again, but Punisher rolled back before using a rocket launcher to blast Doom across his throne room. Doom got back up and said that he's furious now. Before he could channel his arcane rays through his gloves, he saw something green dropping on him. It was Bruce Banner, who has transformed into the Hulk. Bruce saw how the others, such as Daredevil and Elektra, were killed mercilessly in the battle. With the rage that he felt from their deaths, and his guilt of not being able to do anything, he transformed into the Hulk and smashed Doom. Hulk continued smashing Doom into the ground before Doom managed to launch a powerful lightning bolt, shocking the Hulk. But the Hulk gets stronger with more rage. He picked up Doom and smashed him outside his castle. With Doom now being distracted from the fight with Hulk, Punisher decided to track Spider-Man and Ghost Rider. Meanwhile at New York, Annihilus and his army were devouring past the military and the police. The Fantastic Four were trying their very best to halt Annihilus, but his army and himself were too strong for them. They knew they needed help, but the rest of the team were in Latveria facing doom. What a hell and mess this was, Reed thought to himself. Just as they were being cornered by Annihilus and his armies, they saw the insectoids being sliced into thin pieces with a swift blade. Other insectoids were being wrapped in green sphere before disintegrated. One by one of Annihilus' armies were being slaughtered, and the Thing decided to use the opportunity to carry several military tanks and tossing them at the insectoids. The insectoids were taken aback and decided to flee temporarily. They saw a man with shades emerging from the corpses of the insectoids. It was none other than Eric Brooks, Blade, and the Sorcerer Supreme, Dr. Strange. Reed was surprised by their arrival, but was glad for their assistance. However, he did not expect Blade to take part in their fight, as he thought that Blade's main cause of fight was against vampires. Blade told them that while he was at an underground vampire club for a mission, he overheard the news of Doom's invasion and strange portals opening in New York. At first, he was hesitant to fight against the insectoids, but one of them attacked him, causing him to fight back. While he was fighting, he met Dr. Strange, who was battling with the other insectoids. They decided to team up temporarily to fight off the enemies. They saw the Fantastic Four were being attacked and decided to aid them. Johnny told Strange that he only heard of tales of the Sorcerer Supreme from the Daily Bugle, but never knew that he was real. Strange told him that he existed but decided to keep a low profile till now. He told Richards that Annihilus originated from the Negative Zone and was the ruler of the Negative Zone. He said that while he wasn't aware of much information of Annihilus, but from what he heard from the Ancient One last time, was that Annihilus possessed a weapon called the Cosmic Control Rod. It allowed its owner to manipulate cosmic energy in order to control the molecular structure of matter. The rod is capable of projecting vast amounts of destructive energy and concussive force. Continuous exposure of the cosmic energies of the rod has also retarded the aging process of the wielder, making Annihilus virtually immortal. He is also an elite personal guard called the Centurions, which are 200 superpowered aliens, each from the Negative Zone world. The Negative Zone was deemed of a mystery than reality, as nobody has really explored it till Mr. Fantastic created a quantum gateway that accidentally opened a portal to the Negative Zone. Hungry for more power, Strange suspects that Annihilus wants to devour other universe, starting with the Negative Zone. The only way to permanently defeat Annihilus is to destroy the quantum gateway and sending Annihilus back to the Negative Zone forever. The Fantastic Four decided to go to the portal to locate Annihilus's gateway that sent him to Earth from the Negative Zone. However, they are at risk of being trapped in there forever. Strange and Blade told them that they will try their best to hold off Annihilus and his armies. If things go south, Strange said that he will use his Eye of Agamotto to reverse time, but that would be the last option, as exposing the eye will draw in more enemies from across the universe. Back in Latveria, Doom was still battling with Hulk, but Doom was gaining the upper hand in their fight. Meanwhile, at the basement of Doom's castle, Spider-Man managed to unlock the secret chamber, and he saw an imprisoned man being locked into a cylindrical tube. Ghost Rider told Spider-Man that this might be the so-called Molecule Man. The Molecule Man awoken and asked who they were. He introduced themselves as Spider-Man and Ghost Rider. Spider-Man then unlocked the tube, and the Molecular Man was released. The Molecule Man then asked if any of them had any food. Surprised by the reaction and assuming it was a test, Spider-Man said that he did bring along with him a hamburger. Ghost Rider was puzzled, and Spider-Man merely said that he thought that the bottle would be a lengthy one and he needed to keep himself hungry. Spider-Man gave him the hamburger, and the Molecule Man thanked him. The Molecule Man then began explaining about his history and his encounter with Doom. He told them about the existence of the Beyonders, the originators of the reality. However, they soon became bored with the universe and craved for destruction. They decided to initiate a new timeline where a human being would be able to obtain all or partial of their powers to wreak havoc across the universe. They chose a weak man who was working at a nuclear factory and caused an accident there. The accident resulted in the man being exposed to large amounts of radiation, and the radiation was actually part of the Beyonders' powers in disguise. They wanted a living weapon to wreak havoc across the universe. However, Uatu the Watcher was observing the events that unfolded and determined that this man was a universal-level threat and needed to be kept far away in a dimension where nobody could access. He then decided to use that man against the Beyonders. He gathered all Molecule Man across the other parallel timelines and combined them into a bomb, before directing it towards the unsuspecting Beyonders. With multiple Molecule Man combined into one and having the combined powers of the Beyonders, the Molecule Man exploded, and the detonation killed all of the Beyonders. Now, with the fully enhanced power of the Beyonders, the Molecule Man was, however, deeply weakened from the detonation. At the same time, Doom, who knew that the negative zone had a powerful source, came across the Molecule Man when he tracked the Fantastic Four into the negative zone. Using his arcane arts, Doom created a special tube that imprisoned the Molecule Man, who was weakened after the explosion with the Beyonders, and channeled the powers from the Molecule Man into himself. This granted Doom omnipotence and reality warping abilities, eventually declaring himself as God Emperor Doom. With over 3 centuries stuck in the negative zone, Doom has absorbed most of Molecule Man's powers and was able to create a portal back to Earth after an alliance with Annihilus, the ruler of the negative zone. The Molecule Man told Ghost Rider and Spider-Man that the only way for them to stop Doom is for someone to possess some of his powers to match Doom himself. However, the risk is high, as they are at risk of death because the Molecule Man's power can be too powerful for a mere mortal. Spider-Man wanted to sacrifice himself, as he felt that with great power comes great responsibility. Ghost Rider stopped Spider-Man and told him that Spider-Man should not do something foolish. As Ghost Rider was literally dead, getting the Molecule Man's power would not result in his death. Ghost Rider agreed, and the Molecule Man began channeling his powers to Ghost Rider. The Hulk was eventually defeated by Doom, as Doom ripped his spine from him. The Punisher was also seemingly killed, as the number of Doombots and servo guards were overwhelming him. Doom felt that with the Avengers defeated, he can now turn his attention to the Fantastic Four. Doom used his teleportation device to immediately teleport to Baxter Building, and was shocked to see a swarm of insectoids fighting with Strange and Blade. Annihilus spotted him and fought with Doom. God Emperor Doom fought with Annihilus that had the Cosmic Control Rod. Annihilus said that Doom tricked him into using him for his own advantage, while Doom said that Annihilus was just a stupid insect. Annihilus was furious and used his Cosmic Control Rod to blast Doom across the Baxter Building. He said that Doom underestimated the ruler of the negative zone. Strange and Blade decided to use the distraction to prevent Annihilus's armies from attacking the Fantastic Four, who were locating the gateway that opened the portal to Earth from the negative zone. The Fantastic Four eventually located the gateway portal that opened to Earth aboard Annihilus's spaceship. However, it was heavily guarded with his minions. A full fight ensued between the Fantastic Four and his army. On Earth, Doom was still battling with Annihilus. The Fantastic Four knew that they needed to bring Annihilus and Doom back to the negative zone before they could destroy the gateway forever. They were figuring out a way to trick them back into the negative zone. Just then, Strange and Blade saw a blue flame across the city, and something was coming at them from full speed. They prepared themselves in battle mode, as they were unsure of who was coming at them. Doom and Annihilus were taken aback and stopped fighting temporarily. Just then, Doom saw a chain fused with hellfire, flew at him across and grabbed his neck. The chain then tossed Doom crashing into the ground. Emerging from the debris was Ghost Rider, but this time his bike's wheels were blue in color instead of the color of red. Riding with him was Spider-Man and Molecule Man. Ghost Rider then used telekinesis to live the entire Baxter Building before crashing it into Annihilus. Ghost Rider emerged with Spider-Man and Molecule Man near Strange and Blade. Spider-Man said that the new Ghost Rider is now known as the Cosmic Ghost Rider, who is enhanced with powers from the Molecule Man, making him on par with God Emperor Doom. He said that they needed to act fast before Doom and Annihilus could recuperate. The strength from the Molecule Man is temporary before it wears out. Annihilus then emerged from the debris from the fallen Baxter building on him and charged towards the Cosmic Ghost Rider. Strange told him to try to draw the fight closer back to the negative zone so that the Fantastic Four can disable the gateway. Cosmic Ghost Rider, with the aid of Strange, Blade, and Spider-Man, fought with Annihilus. Cosmic Ghost Rider eventually gave the upper hand and used his mystical chain to break through Annihilus' armor and grabbed the Cosmic Control Rod. Strange then used his mystic arts to hold down Annihilus before Cosmic Ghost Rider used the Cosmic Control Rod to pierce Annihilus. Annihilus groaned in pain and was heavily weakened, although he wasn't dead. They wanted to turn their attention to Doom, but Doom used his lightning bolt to strike Strange and Blade, seemingly weaken them. He was about to kill Strange, but Cosmic Ghost Rider interfered and fought with Doom. Doom tried to use his powers to destroy Cosmic Ghost Rider, to destroy him, but he finds that the Molecule Man has taken away most of his abilities so that the confrontation between the two will be fair. Apparently, the Molecule Man has taken back partial of Doom's powers as he wanted Doom to be defeated. With the lack of the Molecule Man's powers, Doom said that he would still be victorious and fought with the Cosmic Ghost Rider. Doom's bots continued to battle with Spider-Man, while Molecule Man, who was still weakened, went into hiding behind the debris of the building. The Fantastic Four were still in the negative zone, fighting against Annihilus and his armies. Cosmic Ghost Rider knew that his powers from the Molecule Man is only temporary, and he needed to bring Doom quickly to the negative zone. A close fight occurred between the two, and Cosmic Ghost Rider eventually used his penance stare, but he was now empowered with the cosmic abilities from the Molecule Man. This allowed him to incinerate any sinner he uses against, whether or not the sinner would feel any remorse. Cosmic Ghost Rider grabbed Doom and used his penance stare on him. Doom saw his past sins and how he decimated the other country's armies during his invasion on the world. Doom was horrified, but he knew he could overcome the guilt of his sins. Doom grabbed the Cosmic Ghost Rider by his neck and used his arcane arts to send a powerful magic attack on Cosmic Ghost Rider. Cosmic Ghost Rider was weakened and fell back to the ground with his blue hellfire flames disappearing, meaning that the powers from the Molecule Man has disappeared. Just as Doom was about to be victorious, Annihilus rose back and threw his Cosmic Control Rod, piercing Doom in the stomach. He flew into the negative zone with Doom, trying to remove the spear from his stomach. The rest of Annihilus' armies followed him and tried to swarm him. The Fantastic Four used whatever strength they had to halt down Annihilus and Doom, who were still fighting with each other. Human Torch shot fireballs, while Thing threw parts of the spaceship onto them. Sue tried to create a force field to hold them both down, while Mr. Fantastic drove the Fantastic Four away from the negative zone with the gateway. He then set a bomb with a timer onto the gateway. Doom and Annihilus were still fighting, and Doom used whatever strength he had left to pulverize Annihilus away from him. Doom tried to rush to hold back the Fantastic Four, but it was too late. The Fantastic Four has escaped from the negative zone, and the gateway exploded, causing Doom to be forever trapped into the negative zone. Doom screamed at them before his last moments were being devoured by Annihilus and his army. The Fantastic Four returned to Earth, and Doom's bots have been disabled as their master Doom was no longer on Earth. New York was wrecked, and the Baxter building was destroyed. Most of the Avengers were killed except Spider-Man, Ghost Rider, Blade, and Doctor Strange, but they too were heavily injured. The Molecule Man emerged from the debris and confronted the rest. The rest of the team were grieving of the deaths of their heroes, which were Wolverine, Punisher, Elektra, Daredevil, Hulk, Nick Fury, and the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. The Molecule Man thanked Spider-Man for the hamburger and told the rest that there was a way to bring everyone back. As the Molecule Man, he had the abilities to warp realities and control atoms. He said that all the disaster had occurred was because of his powers. In exchange for the team of saving him from imprisonment, the Molecule Man decided to sacrifice himself in order to bring back everyone to life. He said that this was the least he could do, as his powers are too powerful for the universe, and this will be for the greater good. The Molecule Man eventually disintegrated, and a bright light emerged in the sky. As everyone else who were alive after the battle with God Emperor Doom and Annihilus, they were surprised to see Wolverine, Punisher, Elektra, Daredevil, Hulk, Nick Fury, and the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. who seemingly perished were alive. However, those who died earlier had no recollection of what happened before the battle with Doom and Annihilus. Reed Richards then briefed them back on what happened, and Nick Fury was glad that his plan was successful in forming the team. The heroes decided to help rebuild society in the Baxter Building, which was destroyed. With a deadly threat eliminated, Spider-Man asked Nick Fury what are their fates now. Nick Fury replied that they would not be disbanded and they would instead be a team of superheroes that would be the protectors of Earth, known as the Avengers. Aboard the helicarrier, the Fantastic Four, Wolverine, Spider-Man, Ghost Rider, Punisher, Daredevil, Elektra, Doctor Strange, Hulk, and Blade watched as they vowed to protect Earth from any galactic threats. From a distant future, a man was fascinated with history and discovered the existence of a quantum gateway by the Fantastic Four. He smirked and said that he was interested to conquer all domains across the galaxy, starting with the 21st century of Earth. The man was revealed to be none other than Kang the Conqueror himself. Captain America watches as the White House came down, crumbling in flames. Kang the Conqueror looked and laughed at Captain America at his demise. Kang taunted Steve that he will go down in the history books as the President of United States that caused the demise of America. After Steve became the new bearer of the Stones of Merlin and overthrew Hitler's Hydra across the world, Steve was elected as the new president. 40 years have passed since, and no wars have happened in this universe. But suddenly, one day, Kang the Conqueror and a man in iron suit and started attacking America. Waves after waves saw Steve's entire military forces were wiped out. Steve Rogers wondered how things have turned for the worse. He felt himself as a failure to Peggy, and even though he had the Stones of Merlin, he was unable to fend off Kang's attacks. Kang used extremely modern technology and weapons which were way too much to handle for Steve. As Steve lay down injured badly, Kang said that he would spare Steve's life as a lesson for those that opposed Kang. Since this world was already almost ruined by Kang, he felt that there will be no greater humiliation than to let Steve to wander off alone in this desolate world. Kang and the man in iron suit teleported away, leaving Steve. Captain America then screamed in anger, and broken mentally, he wonders about his fate. In our universe, Punisher and Spider-Man were staking out a Magia hideout after receiving intel from Nick Fury that Madame Masik and Hammerhead were planning to trade arms to take control of New York. With Punisher a permanent team of the Avengers now, Nick Fury told Frank that he isn't allowed to use lethal weapons even if he is taking out the bad guys. If he does, he will be brought into custody. The bad guys deserve not to be killed, and the only option for them would be to knocked out and left to rot in prison. Frank was hesitant at first, but felt that as long as he can reduce the number of trash on the streets, he is willing to do it. Nick Fury received info that when the Avengers were temporarily killed by God Emperor Doom, Hammerhead took the opportunity to seize control of the criminal underworld. He wiped out the other small criminal bosses and went head-on with Madame Mask, but decided to strike a truce when the other Avengers were brought back alive due to Molecule Man's powers. Since then, 6 months have passed, and the Nick Fury have been taking down the criminal bosses to put a halt to their activities. With most of the Magia bases wiped out, there is only the HQ left. He dispatched Spider-Man and Punisher to handle them as they are familiar with their fighting style and tactics. Daredevil and Elektra were busy handling the threat of the Hand at Hell's Kitchen, while the Fantastic Four were trying to analyze the quantum portal that they created, causing the original havoc during God Emperor Doom's invasion. Hulk, meanwhile, has gone off the radar after the events when he realized that he was originally killed and his spine was ripped off. Feeling that he wasn't capable of being the Hulk, Bruce Banner started researching on how to amplify his strength, but at the same time maintain his consciousness instead of being a full angry green person. Ghost Rider has gone off saying that there are other souls that he needs to reap, and if there is a grave threat to the world again, he will be sure to help the Avengers. What was left is Spider-Man and the Punisher, who are currently assigned to Nick Fury's task. Punisher said he was still uncomfortable with using non-lethal weapons like stun guns and neutralizers to defeat the Magia, but Spider-Man assured him that changing his battle plan isn't that bad. As Madame Mask and Hammerhead were about to complete the arms trading, the Punisher shot several darts containing sleeping medicine, knocking them out. Spider-Man took out the other guards, leaving only Madame Mask and Hammerhead with their personal bodyguards left. Spider-Man wanted to sneak on them, but Punisher screamed at them saying, "Hey bozos, look at your 6 o'clock," before he came crashing down, kicking Hammerhead in the chin. Frank used his stun gun and stunned Hammerhead. Madame Mask's bodyguards started firing at Frank before Spider-Man webbed their guns and tossed them away. Madame Mask then taunted that the Punisher has chickened out and not using lethal weapons, to which Frank replied that even with his fist, he can take all of them down. Eventually, all the Magia guards and Madame Mask were defeated. Spider-Man felt that their task was a success, but then his Spidey sense was vibrating violently. He saw the Hammerhead using a rocket launcher and shot at them. Spider-Man evaded, and Madame Mask and the other guards were killed in the explosion. Punisher used his stun guns, but were useless against Hammerhead. Enraged, Punisher said that scum like Hammerhead deserves to die, and he picked up a machine gun and shot Hammerhead multiple times, killing him. Punisher was surprised that the guns the Magia used were not traditional machine guns, but were rather too modern for their time. Spider-Man agreed, as it felt like those guns came from a near future. However, with everyone dead, they had no leads on where the Magia got those high-end technological guns. Nick Fury, who was watching from the drone cam, was furious that Punisher breached their agreement of not killing anyone. He and the other agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. eventually arrive, and Nick told Frank that he will be brought into custody for killing Hammerhead. Spider-Man wanted to defend Frank, but Frank told him that he deserves this. After all, the satisfaction of killing Hammerhead, hence ending the tycoon of the underworld, was more than enough. Later that day, Nick Fury received a huge alert coming from the Arctic with the energy signals stronger than their previous encounter with God Emperor Doom. Dismissing it as it was just mere seismic activity, the agents later reported that the signal was still ongoing despite an hour has passed. Nick Fury then requested assistance from the Avengers, to which Doctor Strange, Blade, Elektra, and Daredevil arrived at the helicarrier as he felt something was fishy, and with just Spider-Man at hand, Nick had a gut feeling that something huge was going down. As they arrive at the Arctic Ocean, the signal beeping became stronger than ever. The heroes came down aboard the helicarrier and started scouting the area. There was nothing suspicious found from the heroes. Blade said that maybe it was a decoy to lure them into trapping them in the middle of nowhere. Just then, suddenly, a huge lightning bolt came down, striking near Blade, to which he managed to evade barely. They then saw a man with foreign armor holding a sword and a hammer floating in the sky. The agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. said that the foreign man's signature matched of a divine god. Doctor Strange then told the foreign man that they were not seeking for any fight and merely responded to a loud signal. The foreign man asked where he was, and Strange replied that he was in Arctic on Earth. The foreign man that said that he was in Midgard and he needed to get back to Asgard quickly. He said that he was the god of thunder, Thor, and in his last battle against Gorr and Null, he was ambushed by a strange entity. A man who had purplish and green armor with huge guns shot at him, weakening him badly, while another man in red and yellowish armor shot beams at the Asgardian buildings. As Thor had used most of his energy in destroying the time platform belonging to Gorr using the power of a star, he was mostly drained and was unable to stop the strange man. However, he put up a strong fight against the strange man, but was eventually defeated. The strange man introduced himself as Kang the Conqueror, and he has come to control dimensions via time travel. As Kang was single-handling Thor, Heimdall opened the Bifrost Bridge and teleported Thor into there. Heimdall said that Thor needs to get more assistance from Midgard if he wants to stop Kang, as his current situation is not enough, even though he is a King Thor. King Thor came down crashing into Midgard and was unconscious. Since then, King Thor was unknown the fate of Asgard. Blade at first refused to believe his story, as he might be another invader like Annihilus. King Thor said that as far as he is aware, Midgard is populated with humans, and no human can help Asgardians like him. Spider-Man was angry at this statement and started shooting webs at King Thor. King Thor easily ripped his webs and asked who are them. Nick Fury came out from the helicarrier and introduced himself as the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. and in charge of the Avengers, a group of heroes who defend Earth from worldly or universal threats. King Thor said that this is a good opportunity to gauge the strength of Midgard's heroes before he started attacking them. Blade, Elektra, and Daredevil tried their best to tie down King Thor, but were unable to do so and was knocked back with his lightning bolt. Spider-Man tried using different tactics to tie down King Thor, while Doctor Strange used his mythic arts to hold off King Thor from using his hammer or swords. As the heroes were struggling to hold down King Thor, he saw something huge and green lunging at him. It was none other than the Hulk himself. Bruce Banner sneaked into the helicarrier as he felt that something was suspicious with the beeping sound and responded to Nick Fury's message. After realizing the Avengers were struggling against King Thor, he didn't want to repeat the same mistake he did when he waited too long to aid them. Transforming himself into the Hulk, Hulk smashed King Thor into the iceberg. He continued to pummel down King Thor, but not before King Thor used his Mjolnir to knock Hulk into another iceberg. King Thor is surprised that Midgard had such a hero and a worthy opponent for him. He then summoned a powerful lightning bolt and directed at Hulk, not before Doctor Strange used his cloak to push King Thor's hand, causing the bolt to fire elsewhere. King Thor wanted to continue fighting, but Nick Fury told him to stop after the agents reported that they spotted someone in the iceberg. He reluctantly agreed to put a truce to his fight after he knows that Midgard have worthy heroes to fight back. They went to investigate the person spotted in the iceberg, and Nick Fury was shocked to see that a man resembled a legend he knew was frozen in the ice. They thawed the man out, and Blade asked who that man was. Nick then said that there was a legend of a man known as Captain America back during the World War II days. It was rumored that he was a part of the super soldier program and gained many extra traits, causing him to be the perfect soldier. After his last fight against the Red Skull, he had to drive the plane down that held the nuclear bomb into the Arctic Ocean. He was proclaimed dead after they could not track his body. The government decided to destroy all records of Captain America, as they didn't want other countries to learn of their secrets. Eventually, news and records of Captain America were gone. After removing Captain America from the ice, they transported his body back to the helicarrier. King Thor decided to follow them, as he felt that he might have a chance to return back to Asgard if he follows them. In the helicarrier, King Thor explained more of his encounter with Kang. He added that Kang uses technology that seemed out of this world, even for Asgardian technology. Spider-Man then took out the weapons used by the Magia and showed it to Thor and asked him if it looked familiar. Thor agreed and said that it matches one of the weapons used by Kang himself. However, his own weapon was seemingly more destructive, as it was able to blast him off his feet several meters away. Thor added that Kang only stated that he was a ruler from the future and past, and he has come to conquer all dimensions across time. This meant that he was capable of time travel. There was also another man in golden and red armor, according to Thor, who was capable of shooting beams from his chest and palms. Thor said that he isn't sure of the fate of the Asgardians after he was sent away by Heimdall, and there's no way to instantly go back to Asgard unless Heimdall himself opened back the Bifrost Bridge. The agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. ran searches in their database of a man known as Kang the Conqueror, but no results were returned. Worried that Kang will appear in their dimension, Nick Fury ordered the helicarrier to return to New York, and he sent a distress call to summon the other Avengers to the base. He was thankful to Bruce that he interfered and helped them to stop Thor, as now they have retrieved Captain America. Bruce said that he was trying to reach to surpass himself, but has failed over countless experimentations. As the other Avengers, such as Ghost Rider and Fantastic Four, arrive at the helicarrier, Nick Fury informed them of the situation of the imminent arrival of Kang to their dimension. Only Wolverine was not present there, as he said that he had to settle some things with the other mutants. While they have no information on what might happen, Nick said that they needed to be on their toes. He also introduced Thor to the rest of the team. On the other side of the helicarrier, Steve Rogers woke up and was shocked to see that he was in a bizarre place. Everything seemed to advance and alien to him. One of the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. came into the room and was surprised that he was awoken. Steve, whose memories were still fractured and could only remember the last thing being diving into the Arctic Ocean, asked the attendant on what happened to the war. The agent said that he doesn't understand what war, and Steve asked what year it was. The agent replied that it was already 2021, and that shocked Steve. Fearing that he might be in Hydra's camp, Steve attacked and knocked out the agent. He knew that he had to get the truth on what happened. He does not have the shield, so he used whatever he could get hold of as his weapon. Just then, the alarms in the helicarrier went off as Captain America has escaped from his room. Nick Fury told the others to track down Captain America, as they needed him to be on board the aircraft. Spider-Man and Daredevil eventually crossed paths with Caps when they spotted him trying to escape. They told him that they were not enemies but rather allies who have found him in the ice. Caps refused to believe and engaged in combat with them. Nick spotted Caps and rushed to him. With several agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. aiming their neutralizers at Caps, Nick told them to stand down. Nick then casually explained the situation of what happened to the world and him. He even showed Caps records of the history that happened after he went missing. Steve then lost his will to fight, as he lost his loved ones and woke up in a strange time. As Nick was explaining to Cap on their situation, they felt a huge impact to the left wing of the aircraft. The S.H.I.E.L.D. agents reported that they have been struck with a huge missile strike by an unknown source. More strikes followed in, and Nick dispatched the Avengers to scout what was going on. Doctor Strange and Thor went out of the helicarrier to get an aerial scout, while Daredevil and Blade, Elektra, and Spider-Man checked the damaged areas. Captain America was told to wait in the control room with Ghost Rider. Fury ordered the Punisher to be released as things might be dire. Thor saw a huge spaceship several hundreds of meters away from the helicarrier. He charged towards it, but the spaceship's defense systems activated and shot several blasts at him. Thor deflected it and informed Fury that there is a high possibility that Kang has arrived. The helicarrier tried shooting back missiles and lasers at the foreign spaceship, but there was no damage to it. Thor then launched a powerful lightning bolt that had a mild impact to the spaceship. As he wanted to launch a second shot, a man in golden armor emerged and started firing missile barrages at Thor. Thor was distracted and knew it was the same person who attacked Asgard with Kang. The man said he was Emperor Stark, or simply Iron Man now, and that the time has come for this world to submit to Kang. After all, this is their last stop of domination. Thor asked what happened to Asgard, and Iron Man simply replied that Kang spared them as they decided to submit to him. Kang merely wants to rule the world and has no desire for decimation of the populace unless necessary. Thor was glad in a way that the Asgardians were unharmed, but still for Asgard to be ruled by a foreign entity is not something he can accept. King Thor then clashed with Iron Man, with Doctor Strange trying to breach into Kang's spaceship. Strange tried to deactivate several weapon systems of Kang with his mystic arts, but some were far too complicated for him. After getting the exact coordinates of Kang's spaceship, Fury dispatched a small aircraft consisting of Elektra, Daredevil, Ghost Rider, Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four, and Blade to Kang's spaceship. Only Captain America, Hulk, and Punisher were with Fury aboard the helicarrier. Caps was still puzzled on what was going on, but knew that there were graver threats now that a madman has arrived. They then heard a loud announcement across all live broadcast and communication channels from Kang. Kang declared himself as Kang the Conqueror. He has come to enslave this world as his last spot of domination. After having traveled through many dimensions, this Earth seems to be the most interesting and challenging. Resistance is futile, as he has the higher advantage. Refusing to give into the madman's demands, the Avengers stormed into Kang's spaceship after they managed to sneak their way through in. King Thor and Doctor Strange were still battling with an enhanced Emperor Stark as the other Avengers arrived aboard the spaceship. Kang emerged from his throne and welcomed them. The other Avengers eventually clashed with Kang, but he possessed a mass variety of modern arsenal that was too much to handle for the Avengers. Fury then dispatched the Punisher and Hulk to assist the Avengers. He allowed Punisher to use lethal weapons to stop Kang. King Thor, who was not at his peak strength, was defeated by Emperor Stark, while Doctor Strange was blasted in a distance during the battle. Seeing how Kang was outnumbered, Emperor Stark summoned his Iron Legion to take down the rest of the Avengers. The Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, battled with Kang while Daredevil, Elektra, Punisher, Hulk, and Ghost Rider were taking down the Iron Legion and Emperor Stark. Kang retreated to his chamber in his spaceship when he felt that odds were not that much in his favor. He knew that with his extensive time travel knowledge, he can capitalize on it. He took out the Forever Crystal, an object of immense chrono power, which he retrieved from his original homeland, Chronopolis, many timelines ago. It has the power to create several anomalies across timelines and even place himself across different dimensions simultaneously. Kang took the Forever Crystal and wanted to send the Avengers into a different timeline to neutralize their strength. However, Hulk came crashing into Kang's spaceship and attacked Kang. In the process, Hulk accidentally shattered the Forever Crystal into 3 different pieces. Each piece created a temporal anomaly in a different time period and alternate universe. The fragments were then lost in each of these dimensions. Spider-Man, the Punisher, and Blade were teleported into New York during the Great Depression, where it was the Noir dimension. The Fantastic Four, King Thor, Captain America, and Emperor Stark were sent into a dimension where America has crumbled, and anarchy was all over. They were uncertain on whose world it was. Daredevil, Elektra, Doctor Strange, Nick Fury, Ghost Rider, and Hulk remained in this dimension with Kang the Conqueror. Although Kang was surprised at the fact that the Forever Crystal can be shattered, but his plans have just been sped up. With now the heroes stuck in various dimensions, his conquest on Earth remains easier than ever. Spider-Man, Punisher, and Blade awoken in New York at a back alley and realized that the people around were wearing trench coats and looked like pre-World War II. Blade saw a newspaper flying past him and looked at it. He was surprised to see the headlines there saying that another group of gang members were killed in a gang fight the previous day. What shocked him more was that the date of the newspapers was on December 1932 amidst the Great Depression. That explained why everyone seemed back in time. Spider-Man said that if they really did went back in time, then they need to find a way to revert it back and return to their original timeline. Punisher stated that while that might be true, the massive number of gang fights in New York is a good opportunity for him to kill them. Just then, they heard a woman screaming and a gunshot. The trio rushed quickly to the gunshot sound and saw a man in black suit wearing a mask and Kevlar armor chasing after a gang of robbers. The woman said that she has been mugged by the gang of robbers and they chased after them. The gang of robbers were then cornered at the back end alley by the man in the black suit. Spider-Man felt something strange as he noticed that the man in black suit could shoot out webs and swing from one spot to another. Punisher, Blade, and Spider-Man then arrived and confronted the robbers and the man in black suit. The man in the black suit said to surrender the cash, but the robbers started using their Tommy guns and shot at him. Spider-Man screamed and told the man to dodge it, but the man was swifter than he expected. The man in black suit dodged the bullets and fired webs immobilizing the robbers. One of the robbers wanted to flee, but the man in black suit took out his .45 caliber pistol and shot the robber. Spider-Man was shocked and wanted to confront the other man in black suit before he aimed his gun at Spider-Man and told him to stand down. The man emerged from the shadows and resembled Spider-Man himself, only that he had a black suit with a fedora and looked more like a soldier. He said that he was Spider-Man Noir and asked the trio who they were. Peter Parker of the original timeline said that he too is Spider-Man, but they were transported here from another timeline. Spider-Man Noir refused to believe at first, but after seeing the Punisher and Blade's modern weaponry, he lowered his gun and said that he has other business to attend to. He said that New York isn't a safe place and that they should seek refuge elsewhere. The trio watched as Spider-Man Noir swinged into a distance. Elsewhere in the original timeline, the helicarrier was shot down by Kang's spaceship and it crashed near New York City. Hulk jumped out of Kang's spaceship as he tried to muster whatever strength he had left to prevent the helicarrier from crashing into the civilians, while Ghost Rider brought the others to safety. Kang came down from his spaceship and looked at the disaster around him. He proudly gloated that the Avengers have been destroyed and will be lost in the other dimensions forever, as they had no ways of time traveling back. Just then, a sharp razor claws came to his direction, but Kang's energy shield barrier blocked it. Kang was taken aback slightly and saw that it was Wolverine. Wolverine started going into a frenzy, cutting down Kang, and demanded to know where the rest of the Avengers were, but Kang's energy barrier was too defensive for him. Kang then used his gun known as the Neutrino Ray and blasted Wolverine miles away from him. Hulk then came smashing into Kang after the civilians nearby were rescued by Ghost Rider. Kang knew that he could not take out Hulk in close quarters combat and decided to retreat temporarily. With Kang teleporting away, Hulk and Ghost Rider met up with Wolverine, who was already healing from the blast. Daredevil, Elektra, Doctor Strange, and Nick Fury were all nowhere to be found when the helicarrier came crashing. They questioned where he was all this time during the fight, and Wolverine said that he was handling several mutant issues that were happening back in the X-Mansion. Ghost Rider then told Wolverine of the disappearance of the heroes into different timelines, and they have no way to return back to the current timeline. They even all lost modes of communication, and the helicarrier has been destroyed. Just then, they heard a voice saying that the battle is far from over. Wolverine then saw the X-Men team emerging from the debris. Charles Xavier, Storm, Cyclops, Colossus, Kitty Pryde, Rogue, Beast, and Iceman appeared and said that they have helped to rescue the other civilians and the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. They also retrieved Daredevil, Elektra, Doctor Strange, and Nick Fury before they crashed down. Although unconscious, they were alive, Beast said. Charles said that it is better for them to regroup back at the X-Mansion to discuss the next course of action. The Fantastic Four, King Thor, and Emperor Stark ended up in a foreign area where they were unsure of what dimension or timeline it was. From Reed Richards' observation, he saw that most of the buildings have been razed and there weren't any civilians nearby. Either a war has taken place or someone has decimated the area there. There are no signs of Emperor Stark anywhere. Sue and Johnny Storm decided to do reconnaissance alongside King Thor while Captain America, The Thing, and Mr. Fantastic continued observing around there. They saw several civilians and asked on where they were. The civilians replied that they were in New York and that someone came and destroyed the entire city. Since then, the whole city went into an anarchy after the President of the United States was nowhere to be found. Captain America then came up to them and asked who the president was, but the civilians got mad and wanted to beat him up. Steve was puzzled and The Thing held them back. They said that he was the president and has left them to die after the last battle. Steve didn't quite understand and left them alone. Reed Richards came across several newspapers that had Steve Rogers on the front headlines as the President of the United States of America. Reed then concluded that they indeed teleported into a different timeline. With no idea on how to get back, Reed said that they need to meet up with the rest of the Avengers somehow. Just then, a loud blast struck near Reed, blasting him away, but Sue came right on the nick of time to set up an energy barrier shielding Reed from further harm. Then looked in the air and saw his Emperor Stark. Emperor Stark said that he has found them, and even without his master, Kang, he will still carry out his task of destroying them. King Thor emerged from the back and launched a powerful lightning bolt, striking down Emperor Stark. The other civilians fled as they were panicked, while the Fantastic Four and King Thor regrouped again. Captain America from our timeline was still shocked from the fact, waited behind the debris waiting the rest. The Fantastic Four and King Thor told Emperor Stark to stand down as he is outnumbered 5-1. And since they were in a foreign land, they should not fight until they understand the situation. Emperor Stark refused to agree with them and started firing missiles at them. After receiving the powerful lightning charge from King Thor earlier, Emperor Stark charged his unibeam to the max and blasted King Thor into a distance. The Human Torch shot fireballs while the Thing hurled vehicles at Iron Man. Invisible Woman tried using telekinesis to tie him down, while Mr. Fantastic tried to close the gap with Iron Man. However, Kang's tech on Iron Man's armor overwhelmed them, and Iron Man looked at them all defeated. Captain America was about to attack him, but realized that he is powerless. He's still confused on being waken up in the future, and now in a different dimension. As Iron Man aimed his repulsor rays at the fallen Fantastic Four, he felt a shield being hurled at him. He looked around and saw a round shield came crashing into him. Iron Man flew back some distance before a man emerged from the debris and picked up his shield. He started attacking Iron Man and managed to get the upper hand. He took his shield and smashed into Iron Man's arc reactor core, disabling his armor temporarily. As Iron Man wanted to fight back, the man said to stop it, as he is not hesitant to chop his head off with his shield. The man had gotten up and said that he has been waiting for him to return to exact revenge on what he did. The man said he is President Rogers, or used to be. After his entire country was razed by Kang and Iron Man, the entire United States and eventual world collapsed, and Steve from this timeline had no will to fight. He has gone into hiding and vowed revenge against them. President Rogers wanted to kill Iron Man, but the Fantastic Four told him not to. They said he might have the answers to return to their own timeline. Iron Man removed himself from his armor and said that without his armor, he is nothing more than a mere human. He said that he is Tony Stark and came from another timeline where he was a tyrant ruler of a world. But on the brink of death, Kang offered him a chance to live but to serve him. Since then, they have raised other timelines to fulfill Kang's dream of the universe domination. However, Iron Man said that he has never taken a life of another person during Kang's conquest. He merely defeats its citizens or destroys their buildings. That was his only condition to help Kang. Steve Rogers from our dimension came out and met President Rogers, who were both shocked to see each other. The Fantastic Four then explained their situation of being teleported to a different dimension by Kang himself. President Rogers understood and punched Iron Man, knocking him out unconscious. He said that they need to discuss further in the underground bunkers. The Fantastic Four, Steve Rogers, and King Thor, who found his way back after being blasted by Emperor Stark, followed President Rogers. Steve was shocked to see Hydra and US soldiers working together in the underground bunker. He thought that they were still at war with each other. President Rogers then explained how they teamed up together to defeat Hitler, which was actually an imposter known as Marcus Kang, Kang's own son. President Rogers added that the reason why they were in a bunker was because after the White House collapsed, other countries wanted to wage a war on what was left of America. Having no choice, they resorted to the underground. Mr. Fantastic said that he and the rest needed to find a solution to go back to their original timeline. President Rogers replied that they might not have the tech to do it, but they will try their best. Back in the original timeline, Nick Fury and the rest woke up in Xavier's Institute. They were glad that they were rescued by the X-Men. Wolverine apologized that he didn't arrive earlier, as there were several new mutants who arrived, and he needed to shelter them. Nick Fury then asked what has happened to the other Avengers, and Wolverine said that they disappeared without a trace. Daredevil said that he remembered the last thing was when Hulk smashed into Kang's ship. Kang was holding something, and it broke into several fragments. The fragments then created temporal anomalies and might have teleported them elsewhere. Charles then said to them that if what he understood was true, the artifact is the Forever Crystal. The artifact should have only been able to create one timeline and transport its user to there. But since it has been fragmented into 3 pieces, the only way to get everyone back to this world is for them to combine all 3 fragments together back. Wolverine said this is, however, an impossible feat, as they don't know where exactly the others teleported to. The others agreed and decided to brainstorm how to take down Kang and his Iron Legion in the meantime. In the Noir dimension, Spider-Man, Blade, and Punisher were taking refuge in an abandoned warehouse. Since then, they've learned that the current mayor of the city is Norman Osborn, and he has several goons working under him, such as the Vulture, Kraven the Hunter, and Enforcers, a group of thugs who are powered in some way. Spider-Man recognized the villains and figured that in every dimension there are good and bad guys. They were wondering how to establish contact with the rest of the team. Spider-Man said that he's still puzzled with the other Spider-Man and his ability to use guns to shoot the other criminals. Punisher said that, in a way, he's happy that Spider-Man Noir embraced the same tactics as him in crime fighting. They then heard a commotion coming from the bottom of the warehouse. Punisher and Spider-Man decided to scout to see what was going on. They saw the Norman talking with Vulture about a certain artifact they found across the shores of New York. The artifact seemed to resemble a shape of a fragment. While they aren't sure of its monetary value, but the Vulture said that he is certain it can fetch a high price in the black market. Punisher used his sniper to scope the fragment and noticed that it resembled the Forever Crystal fragment. He told Spidey that maybe by retrieving the fragment back, they could go back to the original timeline. Spidey agreed, although he was not sure if it would work. They then saw Spider-Man Noir swinging into the warehouse with his Tommy gun shooting at the other criminals. The Vulture and Norman were stunned before they wanted to flee with the fragment. Blade intercepted several of Norman's guards and cut them down. Punisher started sniping the others while Spider-Man went to retrieve the fragment. Spider-Man Noir saw it was the same trio as earlier and thought that maybe time travelers who traveled across time to steal valuable artifacts. He then attacked Spider-Man, who was closing in on the fragment. During the tussle, Kraven the Hunter appeared and shot several poisonous darts, causing them to dodge. Amidst the commotion, the Vulture carried Norman and flew off. Punisher managed to shoot the tracker onto the Vulture before he flew off. Spider-Man Noir then lashed at Spider-Man for interfering with him. He aimed his caliber pistol at Spider-Man before saying that he has messed up with his plans of taking down Norman and his goons for good. Punisher aimed his assault rifle at Spider-Man Noir and told him that the artifact that Norman was holding was important for them to return to their timeline. Spider-Man then said that they would help him to bring down Norman, and in return, they want to retrieve the artifact. Spider-Man Noir said that they have no way to track them down now that they are missing, and they will most probably hide in their headquarters, which location is unknown. Punisher assured that it is nothing to worry about as long as he has planted a tracker on Norman and that he knows where they are headed to. Spider-Man Noir agreed, but said that when they do capture Norman, he will kill him, as Norman has murdered Ben Urich, a photojournalist at the Daily Bugle whom he looked up to as his mentor. Eventually, they tracked down Norman Osborn to an underground bunker in Central Park. Punisher scouted the area with Blade and saw the Enforcers, Kraven the Hunter, and Vulture were guarding the main entrance. There were around 100 bodyguards armed with Kevlar armor and Tommy guns at guard. Spider-Man Noir said that the plan is suicidal, but Punisher claimed that this feels like any other day. Frank was glad that he brought with him several assault rifles and live bullets after he was authorized by Nick Fury to attack Kang. As Blade was swift, he would be the distraction to cut through the guards while Punisher would snipe them around. Spider-Man would attack the Enforcers while Spider-Man Noir would take down Kraven and Vulture. The assault on Norman's bunker began, and Norman was shocked to hear screams and gunshots coming from outside. A full assault began, and the Vulture brought the fight to outside Central Park. As Spider-Man Noir fought with the Vulture took a woman as hostage as his last resort. Spider-Man Noir was surprised to see that the woman was his Aunt May. Distraught, Spider-Man Noir took out his pistol and shot the Vulture, killing him. The woman was shocked and scolded Spider-Man Noir for being as bad for shooting an unarmed man when he could have overpowered and captured the Vulture instead. Spider-Man Noir knew that he had no time to waste left Aunt May to continue fighting against the others. With most of Norman's goons killed, there were only Norman and Kraven the Hunter left. Punisher, Blade, and Spider-Man took out most of the goons already. Making his way to the bunker, Spider-Man Noir was attacked by Kraven the Hunter, who was on the verge of death after being shot by Punisher several times. Kraven was easily overpowered and died from his wounds eventually. Confronting Norman, Spider-Man Noir aimed his gun at his head. Norman taunted him that he's no different than all of them, as he would take someone's life. Spider-Man told his counterpart that with great powers come great responsibilities. He doesn't have to kill his enemies, and true justice would always prevail. Remembering what his Aunt May said, Spider-Man Noir threw away his gun and punched Norman until he passed out. He decided that Norman Osborn will stand trial and the truth will become public record. He thanked the trio for helping him out and gave him the fragment of the Forever Crystal to Spider-Man. Spider-Man Noir said that he will always remember the quote, "With great powers comes great responsibility," and he will try to live up to being a superhero that doesn't kill his enemies, but rather use real justice. Spider-Man said that he would want to fight side by side with him one day if a chance ever exists, and took the artifact. Spider-Man, Punisher, and Blade took the fragment and touched it. A bright light started glowing from the fragment, and the trio were teleported back to their timeline. They woke up and saw some of the New York's buildings were destroyed, and the helicarrier crashed in the middle of New York. They knew that they needed to find the others quick. In President Rogers' timeline, the Fantastic Four, King Thor, and Steve Rogers were still brainstorming on how to return back to their timeline. President Rogers said that he would check up on Tony. He went to the room where Tony was kept and questioned him on whether Tony has any regrets for his actions so far. Tony said that regret and sorrow were useless, for it was too late. He said that he only realized what he did was bad when he was on the verge of death and Kang saved him. President Rogers said that it was bullshit, as their actions have not only killed many people, but destroyed many people's future. And now, with these heroes trapped in this timeline, they might be trapped forever. President Rogers then attacked Tony, as he was furious on his actions. Tony retaliated and fought back, punching back at President Rogers. The Fantastic Four, King Thor, and Steve Rogers heard the commotion and rushed to the room. Just then, Tony accidentally touched the stones of Merlin, which was hanging around President Rogers' neck. He saw a vision, or what seemed like another reality, where he had a beautiful wife and a loving daughter. They were having fun together peacefully at their own home. Tears came flowing down Tony's cheeks as he saw another reality where he had a family and people he cared about. President Rogers stopped hitting him when he saw that Tony was crying and screaming. President Rogers knew that it was not the physical pain that was tormenting Tony, but rather mental pain and anguish. The Fantastic Four and the rest came into the room and wanted to restrain Tony, but President Rogers said that everything was fine. Tony then told them that he saw in another reality that he had a family and people he loved. While his sins of what he did in his previous timeline cannot be erased, he will try his best to fix things back. Tony then said that there was indeed a way for them to go back to their original timeline, but he's not able to do it alone and will need the help of the others, especially the Brainiac of Fantastic Four, Reed Richards. In our original timeline, the X-Men received reports that there were reports of a large robotic legion of soldiers appearing from the portal. Charles said that they appear to resemble Scarab fighters and robotic drones. It seems that Kang has appeared, and his domination conquest has began for real. With a huge legion of robotic armies, Charles said that the battle has begun. He ordered his X-Men to be on the front lines with Daredevil, Elektra, Hulk, Ghost Rider, Wolverine, the remaining S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, and Doctor Strange to try their best to fight off the robot legions. A full battle assault happened in New York, and as the Scarab fighters and Kang's robotic drones were reduced in numbers, they used a new trick. Storm used her lightning power to provide aerial support for the others, while Colossus and Hulk did the heavy hitting against the bigger robots. Kitty Pryde phased herself and destroyed the robots from inside out, while Cyclops, Iceman, Ghost Rider, Wolverine, and Doctor Strange took out the remaining Scarab fighters. Rogue and Beast were helping to evacuate the other civilians who were caught in the crossfire. Kang's armies were armed with modern armor and weaponry as himself, and was in an intense battle with the heroes. Just as Kang's armies were starting decreasing, the Scarab fighters combined into a gigantic centipede-like things and started overwhelming the X-Men and Avengers. The Avengers and X-Men rolled out once again, but it took the combined efforts of all of them just to take out just one of them. On the brink of defeat, Nick Fury knew that they cannot win without an army. As the huge centipede robots were about to crush the exhausted heroes, a huge missile came blowing the robot apart. A few more centipede robots received the same fate. Nick Fury saw a battle van charging at the robots with Spider-Man and Blade carrying rocket launchers. He saw the Punisher driving the battle van as they charged into the robots. The trio started shooting and destroying the robots. Wolverine said that the cavalry took too long to arrive, but nevertheless was glad that they came back. Hulk launched several thunderclaps to blow away the centipede robots. As they were able to temporarily hold Kang's armies, the heroes regrouped and wanted to decide the next course of action. Just then, they saw several round, huge balls dropping down across New York. They seemed like hatches, and it opened up. Emerging from the hatches was Kang's Second Legion, an army he amassed across galaxies and from different timelines. The heroes watched in horror as an estimated 100,000 armies emerged, according to one of the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. Kang emerged from his spaceship and made an announcement that his spaceship, the Damaloki's base, has started charging a powerful energy weapon that is able to obliterate all the heroes and people in New York. With defeat seemed at hand, Kang told the heroes to surrender and be his subjects. That way, he will spare their lives. Just then, Kang was shot with a huge repulsor ray, taking some damage with his armor. He heard a familiar voice saying, "Not so fast, Kang. Your rule of tyranny has ended." Kang was shocked to see Tony Stark, the Fantastic Four, Steve Rogers, and King Thor there. Kang asked how they managed to return back to this timeline. A flashback showed that Tony said they needed to develop a time travel device to go back to their timeline. He said that Kang managed to time travel after he discovered a time platform from his ancestors. That technology allowed him to time travel and conquer worlds easily. During his years helping out Kang, Tony had been secretly studying the time platform and managed to unlock his secrets. However, only Kang was able to use the technology for some reason. Just before Tony was able to replicate his device, Kang set his coordinates to attack this timeline, preventing him from further developing the device. Using the technology and knowledge of Hydra, the current scientists, Mr. Fantastic, and Tony himself, they eventually created the null time sequencer that allows to easily move through time. However, it comes at a risk, that it can only be used once, and if they were lost in the time travel, they will be gone forever and have no way of returning forever. Just before they were about to time travel, President Rogers gave Steve Rogers the Captain America shield. He said that he needs to be Captain America again in his timeline, and that he doesn't need it. If he ever was able to return again, he can always return the shield to them. He said seeing a young Steve Rogers reminded him of his youth again, and that he will continue fighting and be the President of the United States that was once loved by his subjects. The heroes then used the null time sequencer and managed to arrive back to the original timeline. Kang then laughed and applauded them for their success. He says that not that it matters, as they all will perish too. Kang said that they are heavily outnumbered. Tony then summoned his Iron Man suit from Kang's spaceship, as his previous was destroyed during the fight against President Rogers, and reprogrammed all the Iron Legion to obey his orders. With over 1,000 Iron Legions at his command, the Avengers and X-Men charged against Kang and his army. Iron Man then told King Thor that Kang's spaceship has been charging up a powerful energy blast to wipe out all of them. It's just a matter of minutes before the energy blast will reach New York. As Kang's spaceship was in space, only he and King Thor could fly above space to neutralize the threat. Kang saw that Iron Man and King Thor were charging towards his spaceship. Kang changed the course of the powerful blast that was charged towards New York onto Thor and Iron Man. If he could take out both of the heavy hitters, then his world domination would be easier. On Earth, Captain America teamed up with Elektra, Daredevil, and Spider-Man to take down Kang's foot soldiers while the X-Men were battling the huge centipede robots. Punisher tried launching missiles and rockets, but even his ammunition was running low. Doctor Strange was using his mystic arts to hold off Kang's air support troops. The Avengers agreed that God Emperor Doom was even stronger, but Kang's overwhelming number of soldiers were too much for them. Hulk was enraged and started running berserk across New York to battle one of Kang's humanoid, the Growing Man. Wolverine joined Ghost Rider on his bike to cut down the other foot soldiers. They later teamed up to take down the Growing Man with the Fantastic Four. Reed termed it as the Growing Man as the more they hit the stimuloid, the bigger he grew. The Growing Man started to grow even bigger than the Hulk himself. With most of their hands full at deck, and King Thor and Iron Man battling Kang in space, Reed knew that he had to figure out a solution. Mr. Fantastic told the others to try to stalling the Growing Man while he tried to devise a means to reverse the process that is enabling the Growing Man that was enlarging its own size. As the Growing Man was enlarging, Reed saw that he grew over 50 meters tall, towering over New York. The Growing Man was still growing, but it was immobilized. Reed took a sample of the Growing Man and analyzed his molecule structures. He went back to the X-Mansion and quickly devised a serum that might be able to reduce his size back to its original size. Captain America and other heroes joined Hulk and the rest when they have mostly defeated of Kang's soldiers. Reed eventually returned to where the Growing Man was. He injected the serum into the Growing Man, causing it to shrink. They wanted to continue fighting with the Growing Man as he shrank, but Reed said it's not necessary, as the Growing Man shrank until it perished as an atom. He said he managed to reprogram the Growing Man's molecular structure to reverse it. King Thor told Iron Man to dodge the blast and try to find a way to hack into Kang's spaceship while he will try to absorb the blast somehow. Tony agreed, as King Thor might be able to tank the damage from the blast while he summoned his Iron Legion to further charge his suit. Tony wanted to gain a powerful, massive processing power to hack into the Damocles systems in hopes of gaining control of the entire spaceship. On Earth, the Avengers and X-Men were still battling with Ultron's armies when Nick spotted a bright light charging down towards Earth. The energy blast struck King Thor, but having the power of the Thor Force, King Thor managed to deflect back the blast to the Damocles, damaging it heavily. King was surprised that King Thor was able to tank such a damage, but King Thor himself was badly wounded. He aimed his cannon blasters at King Thor in hopes of neutralizing him for good, but the Damocles was suddenly hacked and he lost control of it. Kang saw Iron Man enter the spaceship and shot a repulsor ray at Kang, blasting him across the room. Iron Man said that the Damocles was already taken over by him, and without his spaceship, Kang was powerless. Kang grabbed his energy gun and started firing at Iron Man, incapacitating him temporarily. Kang said that Iron Man was ungrateful for giving him a second chance at world domination, but used it to betray him. Iron Man said that he was done being the bad guy and that he will use this chance as a redemption at life. Kang and Iron Man continued battling before Iron Man received a transmission from Nick Fury that their forces are being overwhelmed on Earth and he needs to do something quick to defeat Kang. King Thor crashed into the spaceship, causing even more severe damage. Kang, realizing that defeat might be possible, wanted to retreat to this time chair that allowed him to time travel. By going back in time, he would be able to defeat the Avengers and X-Men. It seems that he has underestimated their strength. Iron Man told King Thor that since Kang brought his armies from the near future, The only way to completely defeat them is to either kill Kang or send him back to his original timeline. But with the time chair, he can always teleport back and forth. King Thor used the Mjolnir to summon the Thor Force, something which has been missing from him all this fight, but with his strong desire to defeat Kang, King Thor managed to sustain enough power of his Thor Force. He told Iron Man to move out of the way, as they were still battling. Kang thought that Iron Man has retreated and ran to his Kang chair to start programming himself to another time. King Thor then channeled all of his Thor force into the Damocles and Kang eventually blasting them apart. Kang was disintegrated amidst the blast, and his spaceship exploded in space. On Earth, Kang's minions were also seemingly perished as they came from Kang's timeline. The Avengers and X-Men stopped fighting when they realized that Kang was defeated. Iron Man and King Thor returned back to Earth and met up with the other heroes. Although they were victorious, New York suffered a huge toll and damage with hundreds of civilians and soldiers killed in the battle. It remains a grave threat, as someone like Kang could always appear again. Nick Fury offered a place for King Thor to be with the Avengers, but he declined. Just then, a portal from the Bifrost opened up. King Thor said that he needs to return to his duties as a king, and that with Heimdall opened back the Bifrost, this meant that Heimdall saw that Kang was defeated. King Thor then returned to Asgard, but said that if the Avengers ever needed help, he would be glad to help them. Steve Rogers was reinstated as the official Captain America again. Spider-Man asked what happened to the Forever Crystal. Iron Man said that the Forever Crystal fragment, which was the cause of the timeline divergence originally, has been destroyed after Kang exploded. As the artifact belonged to him, destroying Kang caused the Forever Crystal's core to be shattered for good. Reed Richards said that he will research more on the Null Time Sequencer, as that was the only time travel device, but it was destroyed after they returned back to the timeline. The Fantastic Four then left. Nick approached Tony and asked if he would want to be a part of the Avengers. Tony said that a part of him would feel guilty for his past crimes in his other timeline, but the other part of him wants to redeem himself. He said that he would be more than happy to provide support to the Avengers in the form of his Iron Legion so that they would be prepared for any future threats. As he was immortal due to the resurrection elixir, this was seemingly the best option. With Kang defeated and the helicarrier destroyed, Tony later teamed up with the other scientists to construct the Trio Skeleton as the new base of S.H.I.E.L.D. The X-Men, who were now part of the Avengers, eventually have routine practice with the Avengers in their training rooms. The X-Men were even joined by the New Mutants. Daredevil, Elektra, and Punisher returned to Hell's Kitchen, while Spider-Man remained in New York. Dr. Strange said that he needed to return to the Sanctum Sanctorum quickly, as the other Guardians were reported of a powerful cosmic entity approaching. Hulk, Wolverine, and Ghost Rider joined the X-Men in their practices, while Blade went back to vampire hunting. Nick Fury gave each of them a gadget that would allow him to immediately be in touch with them, compared to the previous times where they were all separated. In the other timelines, King Thor was rebuilding back Asgard with Loki and the others, while President Rogers managed to restore peace to the United States of America. Spider-Man Noir no longer used guns when crime fighting, as he knew that with great powers came great responsibilities. Nick Fury said that the Avengers have once defended Earth from grave threats, and this time, with the X-Men as part of their team, they will be even more than prepared. In a distant galaxy, Uatu the Watcher watches as a cosmic entity has just devoured another planet. Uatu says that at last, the consumer of worlds and destroyer of planets will arrive in this world.